Welcome back to another NCUT movie review, and today we have Hard Eyes, a movie that every person who is single wishes was true. There should be no more displays of public affection after this. And I thought this was a little bit of a weird film because I've only watched a snippet of the trailer before going to see this film, and it had me hooked. It's a Valentine's Day slasher, which we've seen thousands of times. What could go wrong? This movie was so much more. It encompassed almost every goddamn genre. And obviously this is about a killer who I'm sure you can guess the name of. The mask kind of gives it away here. His MO is on Valentine's Day, he goes out and wreaks havoc, specifically on couples. And usually he stalks the couples before murdering them, but in this case, he got it wrong. Now definitely take my opinion here. If you are in a couple, you're going to be in danger. If you have a loved one, maybe hide them somewhere safe, like a closet. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe on second thought, break up with each other. That might be the best and safest option. Even thinking about it now, actually, on third thought, the main two characters aren't even together, so maybe that's not a good option. I don't know. Anyway, you get the point. The main two characters here are Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding, and they played a phenomenal role throughout this entire film. Now, Mason Gooding, I remember him in Scream 6. I'm still jealous he got to hook up with Jenna Ortega, but that's besides the point. His screen presence in these funny slasher horrors seems to work. He seems to really embody these characters, so I think for him going into the future, these are the type of roles he needs to continue to do. And Olivia Holt was in here, and I'm pretty sure the last time I saw her was Cloak and Dagger, so a while ago. She wasn't totally this angry, jealous woman throughout this film, but she did have elements of that because of the trauma that she has dealt with prior. Her boyfriend dumped her, and Mason was the one to come sweep her up and try to change her mind about the idea of love. And a big goal throughout this was to knock her walls down. And Mason Gooding did a really, really good job at that because his character was so lovable. He was basically Romeo. He was a heartthrob. It almost made me fall in love.
What did he say?
And the movie relies on you to be attached to these two characters so it can push whatever narrative it wants to push further, because it can't just hold itself up by the action, by the thriller, by the comedy. It needs something else. And these two were the front runners, and that's what they relied on. And I just want to say right off the bat, the film did a really good job at keeping you on edge, making you guess what will happen in the next scene, making you guess who the killer is. That was the biggest aspect that I took out of this film, was I did not know who the goddamn killer was. Couldn't guess it, never got it, but I felt like the movie was going for something big at the end of it. The climax point was, yes, they get together, or yes, they get the killer, or whatever it may have been, and it didn't feel like they really achieved that. It kind of felt oversaturated by all these genres that it went into a direction of spoof. I couldn't even tell the difference. So maybe that's why I'm in two minds about this whole film. Now, I'm going to talk about the things I did like about this film, and this might contradict what I've just said about this feeling like a spoof. This movie felt self-aware, but not self-aware enough where it was going to be down the line of spoof. It wasn't like a scary movie, a superhero movie, a disaster movie. None of these complete self-aware movies where it's almost too self-aware, fourth wall breaking. This was just enough, and it was teetering on the edge of that. So I did like that aspect of it, that it did know it wasn't going too far down each rabbit hole where it would destroy the movie. But I did think that at the very start, it should have kept that pace. The pacing kind of died off in the middle of this whole movie because it was going for, at the very start, a horror thriller. Then it was very heavily focused on the story aspect of this, so it started to build up those two characters, which was fine, but it wasn't what it was at the very start where you felt that anticipation, you felt the dread. You didn't feel like it was bogged down, and then it kind of felt when they were pushing towards more the rom-com side and the story side, that kind of was a letdown. Even though it was a critical part of the film, it wasn't done as well as the horror and thriller aspect of it. Now, for some people who are regular viewers of horror films or romantic comedies or something like this, or just in slashers, you will enjoy it for what it is. But if you are a massive fan of horror or watched enough of them to notice the similarities in them or the trends that you see in here, I think that you will be a little disappointed at the emotional roller coaster you go on throughout this whole film. And just as a side note, does anyone else think this guy looked like Jason Voorhees? He looked identical to Friday the 13th. You could have just swapped them out and swapped the mask and be the same guy. He carried a machete. He was in a trench coat. The masks were pretty similar apart from the hard eyes. Underneath that mask, I know Jason has those hard eyes too. So it felt to me somewhat similar. Even the opening scene where you have hard eyes stab the cameraman through the lens, and it reminded me exactly when Jason stabbed the girl through the board of the pier on that lake. Her head got impaled. Exactly the same thing to me. So a lot of the similarities to me just immediately jumped out. And I think that that was the cliche version of this movie where it kind of pushed the same stuff we're all used to because you can't rewrite history that much. Or you can if you're in power. But anyway, then it goes into their own idea where they are trying to rewrite everything, and that was interesting. That was a good part. I was like, awesome. Hard Eyes are doing something different, even though it's the same shit on the same day where we've seen thousands of times. It felt different. And that's the aspect I liked about it. And now there's one scene I have to talk about here that really, really pissed me off, because at NCUT here, we talk a lot about the realism side of it. Now, I know it's a goddamn movie, I get that. But pay attention. A specific scene in this film where Mason Gooding is handcuffed to a table. Hard Eyes finds him handcuffed to that table, and Olivia Holt is behind the two-way mirror, staring at both of them, staring at what might happen. She then finds a gun and shoots at Hard Eyes through this two-way mirror. And by the way, she's point blank range. She couldn't miss even if she tried. She shot at Hard Eyes, missed every single bullet. She was stormtroopering this fucking shot. Don't know how that's possible. And then at the end of the movie, she gets another opportunity to shoot at the killer. She shoots, it goes perfectly through the good person's shoulder, back into Hard Eyes' stomach, like a goddamn marksman. I don't know what type of character development off screen that happened during this movie, but she did not train with John McPhee or the Reaper shooting so far away you have to take in the Coriolis effect. This is where this movie gets crazy. I don't know if it's a spoof or it's trying to just be funny, because this is where it wraps my brain and I don't know what to think. It just chucks you so deep into the rabbit hole of either thought pattern that you just don't know. So is this movie worth going to see in cinemas? I think wait for streaming. I mean, everyone's waiting for streaming anyways these days. I'm going to give this a 5 or a 6 out of 10 due to my love of Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees. He might be my favorite murderer apart from Ghostface, I think. I think he's my second favorite slasher. And now Hard Eyes has to be my third because of how much I love Jason. So it is what it is. This film was enjoyable to watch for the majority of it. Just some things really irked me that took me out of it, especially like the progressive stuff that they were doing for it. Now that might mean nothing to someone, but the characters were built up in that way. Very confusing to me of why they went that direction. I mean, they were trying to show her character development. It didn't really show her character development. It showed that she was completely out of her fucking mind. That's what it showed to me. Still loved her as a character though. Don't get me wrong. Loved the character, loved both of them together. Just thought it was weird that she was the one proposing and he was the one showing a key. I thought it should have been the other way around, considering that he was all about love, she was all about hating love. So for her to do a complete 180 and fall for him because they're trauma bonded in a van, a little stupid. Speaking about that van, as like the last thing I'll say, what a funny fucking scene. Couple having sex in the van while they're having a massive D&M. This is the type of hilarity in this film. It really worked. The ideas really worked. Unfortunately, I think that they were trying so many different things that it kind of got misguided. That was the problem. Other than that, loved the film. Anyway, let me know if you guys saw it, if you agree with the opinion. Did you guess who Hard Eyes was? If you did, honestly, I would sub to your channel if I could, because I did not guess it in a million years. Anyway, guys, been another NCUT movie review. Peace, I'm out. NCUT. Don't forget to subscribe.